What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel, where today we're doing a Purge ranking, or hopefully not annual Purge ranking, I should say. But kicking us off at the bottom of our list, we have the Forever Purge. And I suppose to begin, I should just get the good things about it out of the way right off the bat. Um, so first, I would say that as the movie sits, I really actually enjoy the development between the characters here. Um, a rancher who isn't explicitly racist per se, but certainly has some prejudices that he needs to work through. Being forced to team up with his Hispanic ranch hand in the interest of survival, only to get to know each other and befriend each other along the way, is a really nice, wholesome story to tell. That and the as a concept on paper, the Forever Purge should work. Because when you stop to think about it, what is the Purge really? It's an event that is allowed to occur annually because the same psychos that participate in it every year are the same people that agree to behave, to be normal, law abiding citizens the other 364 days until it rolls around again. So, when you realize how fragile this whole thing really is, it makes all the logical sense in the world that at some point, in the timeline, we're going to arrive at a place where the people just don't care anymore. They don't want to listen. All they want to do is purge 24/7 because they really do what they want when they want, sort of thing. My problem with it lies in taking some very um, hot topic, divisive topics from our real life political climate and purgifying them or injecting them into what is supposed to be um, a ridiculous fictionalized scenario. I didn't care for it much when I first saw it, and I got to tell you, I like it even less after watching these movies consecutively and having everything fresh in my brain and being able to really see how it completely obliterates everything that the Purge election year sets up. But we'll circle back to that in just a moment because up next is the Purge Anarchy. Um, Really, a nothing burger of a movie for me, if I'm honest. Um, I think this is one of those movies where the only connection I felt to the protagonist was because the movie told me I had to be. Um, although I will say that they were pretty easy to sympathize with, as none of them really were a part of this whole thing on their own accord, right? We have a mother and a daughter pairing who were forcibly taken out of their home and drug into the streets to be saved just before getting executed. And then we have a struggling married couple who have car trouble at the absolute wrong place in time. Um, but I think that really the only part about this movie that stuck out to me um, was kind of the stuff happening in the background and the expansion on its own lore. Uh, this is where we get to see some of the options that the rich have when it comes to purging. They can either choose to do it within the comfort and privacy of their own homes, or go out and bid in an auction to win the right to experience it in a safe and secure environment. It's also called anarchy because, on one hand, there is an actual anarchist group that is trying desperately to wake people up to what the Purge is actually about. But then our protagonists are also kind of rebelling against the government because we learned that they themselves put boots on the ground to inflate the numbers, so to speak, to make the purge appear more beneficial and successful than it actually is. So that stuff on that side is pretty interesting. But as a movie itself, with like pacing and story and everything, it's just not overly exciting to me. But holding things down in the middle of our list at number 3, we have the first Purge. Pretty much the same story here, although I do like some of the contrasts between some of the characters. For instance, there is a sister who is an activist against the the purge and everything it stands for and whatnot. Meanwhile, her younger brother is secretly participating in it. And then there is a drug lord, kingpin, whatever you want to call him, who is not only having to defend his territory against a rival who is taking advantage of every opportunity that the night grants, um, but also having to protect those dearest to him from, different crimes and degenerates that he has no control over. And then there's just the concept of the first purge in general, right? This idea that you are the first rats in this trial. You don't really know how it all works, or what's going to happen, or what it all means or anything like that. You're just being told by your government that as an impoverished community, um, you will be um, those that you know endure the night in their homes will be paid, and those that participate in it will be paid even more. And I don't know, something about just being ground zero for this experiment where everything's new and nobody really knows how it's gonna all pan out in the end. Just it stuck out as terrifying to me for some reason. Which brings me to our runner up. In second place, we have the Purge election year. First and foremost, I would say that this is the first movie where I felt completely personally invested in the entire cast. I liked them all and therefore didn't want a single bit of harm to come to any of them. As a movie, I would say that this is probably the most unhinged and frankly fun offering that the franchise has. Basically, what we have here is we've reached we've reached a point where there is a political shift happening. More and more people are coming out against the purge. They're hungry for change. Enter a senator who is a purge survivor who is running for president under the promise of abolishing the purge. Naturally, the new founding fathers don't like this. They want to maintain their positions, maintain their power. So they make the decision to um, uh, lift the long-standing rule that states that any high-ranking government officials are exempt from the evening, which um, basically immediately puts her in danger from all angles, right? And then on the lore side of things, we really get to see just how indoctrinated into the Purge philosophy the elite class really is, because it pretty much takes on this religious ideology. You know, um, we purge because it's the right thing to do. We purge because we want to be good Christians. God wants us to purge. He ordains this whole thing, and it really is this like holy experience, which is just wild to me. Now, what I don't like about it as it pertains to the Forever Purge is okay, the end of the movie rolls around, right? Um, Senator gets elected, vows to end the purge, hip hip hooray, good guys win. But wouldn't you know who won the pony? Before the end credits, there's a little news broadcast that informs us that there are um, new founding father supporters and pro purge people that are beginning to protest and cause a ruckus in all the major cities, which communicates to us, the audience, that it's not necessarily going to be a smooth and easy transition uh, between administrations. Now, the opening credits of the Forever Purge go as far as to tell us that basically the senator turned out to be a really crappy president um, who ran the country into the ground. Basically, everything that's wrong with it happened on her watch. So the new founding fathers are reelected, the purge is reinstated, and everything's supposed to be cool, I guess. But why? Why did we feel the need to take the long way around in destroying her as a character and kind of that movie as a whole? Why, when it gives you everything you need for a forever purge? The movie tells you that there is a portion of the populace that, because of this election that they clearly don't agree with, they've become enraged and radicalized. Um, so it just makes sense that this should have taken place right after election year. Um, it should have been pro purge versus anti purge, because it doesn't take a very big mental leap or anything like that to see that, like, those are the people that would then say, hey, screw this new president, screw her laws, even though the purge isn't um, legal by her terms, or like nationally or whatever. We're going to do it anyway because we're in power here, not her. Like, and for that matter, like, the purge has been built on its own politics. So, like, why did we feel the need to bring real life politics into it? You can do it the way that I just explained and have the same story. If you want it set in Texas, you can have it set in Texas. You can still tell the story of the rancher and the ranch hand kind of growing closer and understanding the human sides of one another. You can still have the ultimate goal be fleeing to Texas Mexico, because the entire nation has basically fallen apart. You can do everything that the Forever Purge sets out to do, just a lot more creatively and a lot more logically with how the rest of the franchise led up to it. And I just feel like everything that it actually does in terms of getting where it needed to be is just so wildly unnecessary. I don't know. But that leaves the number one spot, the King of the Mountain, the best of the Purge franchise, in my personal opinion, my personal favorite, the original Purge. This is the one where if I ever have the hankering to sit down and watch a Purge movie again, this is probably going to be the one that I pick off the shelf and sit down with. And the reason why is because I think it encompasses everything that you need to know about what the Purge is. Um, in the background, you know, you catch a little snippet of newscasters talking about kind of the reality of what the truth behind the Purge might be. And this movie kind of treats it as almost like a conspiracy theory, right? Um, kind of like, what is the truth behind the Purge? Could it really be about money? Could it really be about eliminating the lower class, the poverty class, the non-contributing members of society? And it really plants the seeds that we get to see kind of grow and catch fire, if you will, the way that it does in later installments of the series. Um, and then it wastes little time in selling us on this idea that it is, in fact, all about the haves and the have-nots, so to speak. There's a sort of asshole dad that wastes little to no time in explaining that, like, they don't want to participate in the Purge, but they also don't need to, right? They can just have the entire night pass them by peacefully because they can afford protection. Some of that money comes, most of it, I guess, comes from him selling Purge security systems to all of his friends and neighbors in his area, which we come to find out later is actually a sham. They're mostly for appearances, but they do actually do very little in terms of deterring anybody that wants inside, which is important for later. I really like the villain here, and the sort of internal moral crisis that he causes for the father between, having to choose between doing everything he feels is necessary for keeping his family and home safe, and uh, having to turn over an innocent man, a person that he knows is innocent, to be slaughtered. And that's pretty cool. Now, the neighbors show up. They're angry, and they kill the husband, which allows for a lot of character growth from the wife and mother, which is also very, very cool, and it leads to the wildest ending out of everything. So basically she gets everybody, all of her neighbors that have come to do them harm, she subdues them. And basically they're all sitting around her dining room table at gunpoint until the siren goes off, indicating that the purge is over. And then they just get up and they leave the house and they go on about their lives, which is just wild because it's like the, these are the people that literally killed your husband and attempted to kill you and your children. And you're just going to like how do you go back to normal life after that or whatever? Like I can't even fathom how you number one let them live after trying to kill you, but like how do you pretend everything's okay after that? And are they going to come back next year and try it all over again? Or like how does that, I can't compute what that even looks like or what that means. I don't know. But there you have it. There is our ranking of the Purge franchise. And just a quick little recap. In last place, we have the Forever Purge. After that is the Purge Anarchy. In the middle of the list at number 3 is the first Purge. The runner-up is the Purge Election Year. And the number 1 spot belongs to the original Purge movie. Now, just very quickly before I go to close, in case there's anybody out there that's kind of curious about the Purge TV show, I am planning on making some sort of separate um, content with that at some future point. So if you're looking forward to that, then definitely keep your eyes open. I don't know when, but I do have a plan to go back and revisit that when I have the opportunity to. But that is going to wrap this video up, guys. So as always, take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.